Supper with Stub, supper with Stub, mixing up drinks and making grub, pairing beer and wine with the dishes we love. Come on in and see the spell of Supper with Stub.
What is up, friends? Welcome to Supper with Stub, first episode of season 2. You know what we do here. We drink and we cook things. As always, we start off with a cocktail because it is Friday. So we're going to start with our cocktail. Today we're going to be making an Alabama Slammer. To do this, we put ice into our shaker here. We're going to add 1 ounce of Southern Comfort, 1 ounce of Slow Gin, 1 ounce of Amaretto. There we are. And of course, now for me, because this is such a sweet drink, I like to add a 1/2 ounce of freshly squeezed lime juice. Why freshly squeezed? You know why, because we're not basic bitches here. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and add our 2 ounces of orange juice over top, and now we're gonna shake this. Sexy wise. All right, now we've got a Collins glass here, as you can see. We're gonna go ahead and fill that with ice, and over that, we're gonna go ahead and strain our concoction from our shaker. We're gonna garnish this today with just an orange. You can put a cherry on there if you want, but I just went with an orange today. So there we are. Now for the taste, here we go. Oh, that's delicious. Now look, this is a super sweet drink, but all of the parts in here, even if you don't love them, they come together really well to make a well-balanced, delicious drink, especially if you add that little bit of lime juice for some citrus in there. Really pops this drink well. Okay, so today, what are we making? We're gonna be making some grilled pork chops, super easy, some homemade stovetop macaroni and cheese, and of course we're gonna add some spinach because you got to eat your vegetables, right? All right, so pork chops, I've pulled these out just a few minutes ago. As we do with any meat on the grill, we want our meat out for a little bit so it's kind of at room temperature before we cook it. Now to this, I just have seasoned salts. There we go. And once again, brand I won't tell you because these people still aren't returning my emails, even though I'm using their seasonings in all of these videos. It's crazy. So a little seasoned salt and a little pepper here over top of these pork chops. And we're just gonna let these sit for a few minutes while we get our cheese sauce started here in just a sec. So we're gonna do both sides of this. Pretty simple. Bam, there you go. All right, now we're gonna go ahead over to our stove top to start what I feel like is the star of this meal today, and that is our homemade mac and cheese. I say that because, you know, everyone has their recipe for mac and cheese, right? Just like potato salad. Marshmallows and raisins, hell to the no into that. So what we have here, we're adding our butter into the pan here. We're gonna melt that. We're gonna turn this over just slightly above medium heat here and start melting our butter in there. Now you recall maybe from the gravy and biscuit episode, this is one of the classic cooking techniques. What we're basically doing here is making a roux for the base of our sauce here. Now you can see next to me here, I have water boiling for our pasta as well. It's just elbow macaroni. I'm not gonna show you how to boil pasta because if you can't do that, you certainly can't accomplish even these super simple tasks we're doing right here. All right, so I'm turning this heat down just a little bit because I don't wanna burn this butter as I add our flour in here. There we go. Now, once again, we're just gonna constantly stir this so we get a nice roux going between the butter and flour. And once again, it's equal parts butter and flour, 1/4 cup each. All right, now to that, what we're going to add is, once again, we're on a medium heat here. We're gonna add 1.5 cups of milk and then 1/2 cup of heavy cream. Now, you can use 2 cups of milk if you want, but once again, I feel like you want a nice creamy mac and cheese. Let's go ahead and get the cream in there. So you're gonna have this on a medium heat and you're just gonna constantly stir it till it's just bubbly, but you wanna constantly stir it to incorporate that roux that we made with the butter and flour in the beginning here. Now, I also have here, what is that, a teaspoon of salt. We can add that. I've got 1/2 tablespoon of pepper. I'm gonna add maybe about 1/2 of that right now as we go ahead and stir this and incorporate it. All right, friends, you can see from the overhead shot here, we have this pretty incorporated. We're just starting to get a little bubbly around the edge here as we've been constantly stirring. This has taken just a couple of minutes here, so we're getting this in there Let's stop stirring for a minute. Just make sure we got a nice, just starting to get that little bit of a rolling boil simmer on the edges there. We have that, but look at that nice kind of thick gravy almost concoction here. Bam, it's gonna make a beautiful, beautiful mac and cheese here, I promise you. All right, so you see from the ingredients, what we're gonna do, we're gonna start adding our cheese now very slowly. We're not gonna add it all at once because we want it to melt evenly. So we're gonna add a little bit of the cheddar. You can back and forth this. Look, I'm gonna go and throw some cream cheese in there as well. Now, why do we use 3 cheeses? Number one, we're not basic bitches, right? So cheddar is obviously a great base, but it's also a great melting cheese. We also use the Gouda, which is also a great melting cheese. Adds a little bit of a little more creaminess to there. And then I love using the cream cheese personally because it's got that little bit of a tang in it that's just gonna add that nice little bite to your mac and cheese. So we've got our cubes of cream cheese in there. And you see this is a thing that you have to watch while you're doing it. Stir it constantly. I love mac and cheese. We know kids love mac and cheese. This is also an easy recipe that maybe helps your kids get excited about cooking as well over the summer while they're at home. So it's kind of why I like doing this recipe right here. We've got a nice homemade mac and cheese and it's super easy. Really not that much more difficult than making the cheese out of the blue box there. So once again, we're doing this slowly. We've reduced our heat just a hair so we can slowly melt this cheese and not burn any of the ingredients. But if you constantly stir, you're really not going to be in harm's way of that at all. So there we go. Put our last of the cheddar in, get that stirred, and you see how it just starts slowly melting over this high heat while we're constantly stirring here. All right, so our cheese is basically melted in here. I like the pepper that's in there. I'm gonna wait to add more of that until later, until we taste if we wanna add a little more salt and pepper. But I'm gonna turn this all the way down and make sure to come back every 60 seconds or so to give it a little stir. All right, in the meantime, we're gonna go ahead and go put these beautiful pork chops on the grill. All right, friends, we have our grill, hopefully just about 500, 525, I like that. That's a good heat. We're gonna take our delicious bone-in pork chops. Why do we use bone-in? Well, isn't it always better with a bone-in? But we get a lot more flavor on this. You can see these pork chops are about inch and a quarter thick. Once again, rib tells me that's about 4 inches. We're just gonna throw them sideways on the grill and we're gonna let them sit for about 3 minutes with the lid down. All right, friends, these have been on about 3 minutes on the first side. What we're gonna do is take and turn them about 45 degrees. And if our grill's hot enough and we've seared correctly, what we're gonna get here, if I can actually grab this guy, we'll get some nice cross hashing on there. We're gonna leave that about another 3 minutes on this first side here. All right, friends, we've got about 6 minutes on the first side of these pork chops here. We're gonna go ahead and flip those over. Oh, we got a nice little char on that. Bam, I like it. And apparently I didn't clean my grill well enough there. Got a lot of oil in it, so we're gonna go ahead and let these go for about another 3 minutes here. All right, friends, in the meantime, while we're cooking the last side of our pork chops out there, we're gonna go ahead and do our spinach. What we have here is about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of water, just in a pan, and we're gonna add our fresh spinach into here. What we're basically doing is steaming, kind of half boiling this spinach. We're gonna get a little liquid out of it. Bam, there we go. I don't know, it's a couple of handfuls out of the bag we bought, so I don't know. Use however much you want to feed your family. Let's go ahead and get all of this wet, all the spinach wet here. You're on about a medium heat after a slight boil. We're just gonna top this off. It's gonna take about 3 or 4 minutes to cook. All right, friends, our about 4 minutes is up on these pork chops. Let's go ahead and pull these off. We'll take them inside and prepare the rest of our things while these pork chops rest and enjoy our meal. All right, friends, our spinach has been on for 3 or 4 minutes while we cook the second side of our pork chops outside on the grill. I added, as you can see from the overhead, maybe a little bit too much water. So I'm just gonna go ahead and serve this up here. But you can see how green under here this spinach is. It's fully cooked. Using fresh spinach is amazing. Frozen's also great, but anytime you can, just use fresh spinach. It's delicious, easy to cook. You see how simple that is there. Get a little bit of water in the bottom of that, that's fine. We're gonna season this up here in just a second. All right, so there's our spinach. All right, you can see here I've got our pasta. Once again, if you need to know how to boil pasta, maybe stop watching the show and try peanut butter and jelly right out of the jar. All right, so we've got our pasta. I've cooked and drained it, nice al dente, and we're just gonna add our cheese sauce right over top here. As you can see, it's nice and smooth and thick, and we're basically, you know, like you do, just gonna stir this in. Now I've cooked my pasta, I didn't rinse it, that's very important. So we're gonna go ahead and just incorporate all this cheese into this 1 pound of pasta here. Yeah, this is a lot of pasta. You're gonna have some leftovers. Look, if you're so inclined, I guess you can put this in ramekins or in a baking dish and bake it off. I personally never liked baked mac and cheese. I thought it dried it out a good amount. You can see here, and probably even hear on my mic, how kind of creamy and squishy and gushy that is. Reminds me of, I guess, walking in flip-flops after being in the pool all day as a kid. Let's go with that. All right, so we have all 3 components of our meal here. Let's go ahead and plate this meal up. All right, you see that one pork chop over there had a little bit of char on it. Might have had a little extra grease on my grill. I didn't scrape off well enough. That's perfectly fine. So we're gonna go ahead and make this the center of the plate there. I'm gonna use these same tongs because we love the green on here. That's really what the spinach is for. And then to the spinach, because I added a little salt to the water before we boiled, but I'm gonna add just a pinch of salt over top and just a little squeeze of lemon right over top of there. And we're gonna dip ourselves up some mac and cheese. Look at that. Done. And there it is. Our beautiful grilled pork chops, homemade stovetop macaroni and cheese, and a little fresh spinach. So, about done with our cocktail. What are we gonna pair with this? Well, first of all, I'm gonna taste this meal. That cocktail though, telling you, that cocktail is delicious. I'm really most interested in this pork chop. The thing about pork, a lot of us wanna overcook pork. You go to some of your finer restaurants, they're probably gonna cook your pork about medium. Most of the time, you're hitting about 158 or so on that. If you get a little pink, especially if you get closer to the bone, that's all right, but if we can see from here, we've got white all the way through, but the juices are still clear, so we definitely haven't overcooked this pork chop. Let's give this thing a taste. Now remember, I did a really light seasoning on this. I just did some seasoned salt and pepper. I love to let the meat speak for itself. That's super important in cooking, and it's the thing I like. Like when you're cooking something, let the ingredient you're using really speak. Just season it enough to amp it up just a little bit to make it go with the other flavors. The macaroni and cheese is creamy, a little tangy. And fresh spinach, we all know what that tastes like. I could probably add a little more salt on there, but whatever. It's only rock and roll here. All right, what do we pair with this meal? So I say all the time, if you're doing pork, you're doing a pork tenderloin, you're doing any kind of pork, you're doing even ham for like Thanksgiving, my first go-to is always Pinot Noir. Today, however, we're going with bubbles here. Why? Because number one, it's our first show back, and who doesn't want to celebrate that? But I'm going with the Montadon Brut. I believe this is mostly Chardonnay. There may be a little Pinot mixed in there, but it is definitely a Brut. It's white. What I think is going to happen here, though, you're going to get a little creaminess in the champagne. You're going to get a little bite from the bubbles. You're going to get some definite acid, little lemon notes. Completely right with all of those things. And I think what it's going to do is complement the saltiness of the pork, which exists just in and of itself. Addition to the salt we added, it's gonna hit well with the creaminess and the tanginess of the macaroni and cheese and the bitterness of the spinach. Let's give it a go. Oh yeah, wow. Completely works. Get a little lemon, a little cream on the champagne there. Just plays beautifully with every element on the plate here. Hey, as always though, not everyone out here is wine drinkers, right? Watching Supper with Stub. So we also have a potential beer pairing for you. And today we're going with one of my favorites. You all know, or if you don't know, I love Ballast Point. I love the Ballast Point flagship Sculpin. It's one of my go-to beers. Today though, we're doing the grapefruit Sculpin. It's great for summer. We're doing it out of the can. This is freshly canned. I actually got this from the Ballast Point facility in Daleville, Virginia, a couple of weeks ago. So I know it's fresh. I know it's delicious. Grapefruit for a while. The grapefruit Sculpin took a while to grow on me, but I really love the just slight bitter citrus that the grapefruit addition adds to the Sculpin, and it's really grown on me over the years here. Let's try this with our meal. Once again, I think that the hops and the bitterness here are going to cut through the saltiness, the creaminess, and the bitterness we have with everything on our plate. Let's go. Wow, cuts through really nicely there and pairs just beautifully with this plate. Wow, pairings, I don't know. I like both of them a lot, actually. I think it's gonna depend on whether you want a wine or a beer. I think both have their place. I think both are delicious, but I mean, seriously, look at this plate. How can you go wrong here? I mean, you've got this big, thick, perfectly cooked pork chop here, delicious stovetop mac and cheese. Got ourselves some fresh spinach with a little squeeze of lemon over there. Amazing. Montadon champagne, delicious, crisp, awesome. I think this is about 35 bucks too, so it's at the lower end of actual champagnes, which is amazing. We've got our Ballast Point Sculpin. And of course, we started with the Alabama Slammer, right? Which I think is Forrest Gump's favorite drink. Is that correct? All right, well, I'm gonna finish up with champagne because I have this coupe glass full here, and I mean, we got a bone in the pork chop and a boom in the hand. Yeah, look that up. All right. Well, friends, thanks for joining me today. Share this out with your friends. Do all the stuff. Yeah, I hope you have a great weekend. Try this recipe. Once again, the mac and cheese obviously is the actual recipe here. All right, friends, thanks for joining me. Until next time, stop coveting, start drinking, and remember, there's always a seat at the table for you for Supper with Stub. Cheers, friends.